Confusion is a hallmark of narcissism. And if you've ever had a close relationship with a narcissist, you have probably encountered what I would like to call the confusing cloud of chaos that so many of them will create at some point or other. This is when a narcissist becomes extremely upset over something that maybe doesn't really make any sense, or maybe it seems like an extreme overreaction that is completely irrational. And this tantrum that they're throwing, which can last for months or even years, seems to take on a life of its own. They seem to be upset over the fact that they're upset. And after a while, you don't even know what it was that started all this, or you become very confused. Everything becomes lost in the woods, and everything somehow is your fault, even though you're not really sure what it was you did. And the more you try to pin down the origin of this tantrum they're throwing, the more confusing everything gets. So in today's video, I'm going to explain why narcissists do this, what exactly is happening, and give you some tips on how you can ground yourself in reality and see this situation more clearly. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. So to illustrate what I mean by this confusing cloud of chaos, I'm going to actually tell you a fictional story to illustrate what this is like. And I'm sure that if you have dealt with a pathological narcissist, this is probably going to really strike some chords with you. So let's say that you have a friend and your friend's name is Kim. Okay, and let's say, for the sake of this story, let's say that your name is Joe. And you and Kim get along really well, you think. I mean, you've had a few rough patches in the past, but things seem to be going really well. You see Kim 2 or 3 times a week. And as far as you're aware, Kim likes you and appreciates your friendship, and everything's going pretty well. But let's say that you are at a party one day and you just happen to be standing next to the kitchen and you hear Kim's voice coming from around the corner, and you hear Kim say something to a mutual friend about how you're always taking advantage of her. You're always asking Kim to take you out to lunch so that Kim can pay for your lunch, and you never pay for lunch. And Kim feels like that's the only reason you even want to be friends, is because you want Kim to pay for your lunch all the time, and you're a real mooch, and you never do anything for her, okay? And you're just really stunned, and you're thinking to yourself, what is she even talking about? I mean, we went to lunch, I think 2 months ago, but she called me and invited me to lunch, and I tried to pay for my lunch, but she grabbed the bill and insisted that she was going to pay for it. I didn't know it bothered her that she paid for my lunch. I mean, I would have gladly paid for it if she had just told me. And you just don't even know what to think. You're very hurt. You are really confused because you thought you were on good terms with Kim. And you're also really embarrassed that Kim is saying this to somebody that you both know. And what do you do now? I mean, you're right around the corner. This is really awkward, right? So what you decide to do is later, after the party, you call Kim and you, as nicely as you can, say, hey, Kim, I'm sorry, but I overheard you at the party saying that you don't appreciate that you're always buying lunch for me. And I just want to say, I'm really sorry you feel that way. I had no idea. I wish you had talked to me about this. Okay. Now, to your surprise, Kim completely goes berserk, flies off the handle, has a tantrum, and just completely rips you to pieces for eavesdropping on her and disrespecting her privacy and listening in on her conversations. And so now you're even more confused and more hurt. And as any rational human being would do, you try to talk this out with Kim. You try to tell her, I'm sorry, I just happened to be standing next to the kitchen. I didn't even know you were in there. And then I just heard you talking. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. But no matter what you say, no matter what you do, Kim is furious with you and is calling you names and is saying all kinds of things about how disrespectful you are. And the more you try to reason with her, her, the more upset she gets. So the phone conversation eventually ends and you're just completely bewildered and wondering what it was you did that offended her so much. And this original problem you had about how she apparently doesn't appreciate you freeloading off of her for lunch is now lost in some new problem now about what an eavesdropper you are and how disrespectful you are. Now, if Kim is especially toxic and malignant, she might start texting you. She might start telling all of your friends what a terrible person you are. She might start lying about you behind your back. She might start leaving you 3-minute voicemails. She might show up to your house with every gift you ever gave her and dump them on your porch. She might start texting you night and day and posting a passive aggressive things on social media about what a backstabber you are. And here you are, lost in a confusing cloud of chaos that makes no sense. Now, this is a type of situation that many narcissists will present. Narcissists do this all the time to varying degrees, depending on how malignant and toxic they are. But if you are in a close relationship with any narcissist, at some point, you're going to end up in some sort of confusing argument about what a terrible person you are after what seems like an innocent misunderstanding, or after they did something that hurt your feelings. And no matter what you do, things just continue to escalate and get more confusing. And you end up trying to defend yourself against somebody who initially actually is the one that hurt you. 3 things that always occur in this sort of phenomenon is the narcissist has blown something way out of proportion. Like in this story I just told, Kim is absolutely livid, freaking out, having an epic meltdown because her friend overheard her saying something at a party. It's just blown way out of proportion. And now she's conducting a smear campaign and just trying to destroy your life because of this, okay? The second thing that these campaigns always have in common is that you didn't do anything wrong. And this can be something that you lose track of, because this is one thing that this confusing cloud of chaos is designed to do, is to confuse you and disorient you so much that you lose sight of the fact that you didn't do anything. You know, when somebody is harassing you and calling you names and is furious with you and is telling everybody what a terrible person you are and is saying you're dead to them, it can be really easy to lose sight of the fact that you didn't do anything wrong, because it is so hard to wrap your brain around the idea that somebody could be treating you this way after you didn't do anything to deserve it. So it's almost like your brain will, to make sense of it, will assume, well, I must have done something. I must have done something terrible for my friend or my family member or my partner or whoever to be this upset with me. Surely, I mean, I don't understand what I did, but I must have done something, right? But these confusing clouds of chaos all have this in common. You didn't do anything wrong. If you look back to this party, in this fictional scenario, what did you do wrong? You went out to lunch with Kim, who invited you out to lunch, and then you let Kim pay for your lunch after she insisted on paying for it. And then you just happened to be standing in the wrong place at this party you were at, and you overheard her say something. At no point did you do anything that would warrant even any upsetness. I mean, Kim doesn't really have a right to be upset with you at all. The third thing that these clouds of chaos will all have in common is that there is no solution. So in this fictional scenario, Kim is texting you nonstop, leaving 3-minute voicemails, showing up to your house, giving you back gifts, smearing you to all of your friends, and acting like you are the most horrible, despicable human being that's ever existed. But what does she want? There's nothing that she wants from you. There's no way for you to fix this. There's no solution. There's not any kind of threat of like, I will stop doing all this if you just, even if you apologize. It's not really going to fix anything. She is on this warpath. She's out to destroy you, and there's nothing you can do. When narcissists get like this, I have likened it to having it feel like you're backed into a corner with somebody beating you with an emotional baseball bat, and there's nowhere for you to turn. There's no solution. There's nothing you can do to get away. There's nothing that makes any sense. There's nothing you can do to protect yourself. You're just being beaten with this emotional baseball bat in a place where you cannot escape from. And that's another thing that these confusing clouds of chaos will all have in common, is the narcissist doesn't really want anything from you. There is no solution. They just want to destroy you. Okay, so if this sounds familiar with you, if this is striking a chord, now let's break it down and look at what actually happened here and what's actually happening if this is something that you're going through right now. Okay, first of all, I just want to make one thing very clear. Kim was not complaining to your friend about you because she's actually mad about paying for your lunch or whatever it was she was saying. That is not what any of this is about. Like I said, you probably didn't do anything wrong at all. But what happened is, first of all, at the lunch, when Kim insisted on paying for your lunch, what happened there? Was she secretly resenting you? Did she feel like you were tricking her into that somehow? I mean, maybe she did, but that was in her imagination. What probably happened at this lunch is she invited you to lunch, and then she insisted on paying for it so that she could feel like a generous, wonderful human being that should be nominated for sainthood, or however that works, because she paid for your lunch, right? And when she paid for your lunch, maybe you said thank you or something like that, and then she realized that you weren't going to bow down and kiss her feet for the next 3 hours. And maybe she really did feel taken advantage of, because she was supposed to get some kind of gold medal or something for having bought your lunch, and your thank you really fell flat for Kim, who felt like she was saving the world by taking you out to lunch. Okay, so that's probably what happened there. And then a few months later, she's at this party, okay, and she's talking to her friend. And when she's sitting there telling the friend that you take advantage of her and that she always buys you lunch and you never do anything for her, some of that might be based on her ridiculous expectations of you starting a new religion where you worship Kim because she bought you lunch. So she might have really felt like you were taking advantage of her, but the main reason that she's telling the friend about this is to make herself look like the good guy, to make herself look like the generous person. I mean, you didn't give her all the accolades that she deserves for buying lunch. Maybe this other friend will realize that she's the new savior of the world because she bought somebody lunch, right? So it's worth a try after all this money she spent on your lunch to try to get something back on this investment by telling somebody else that she bought lunch for you. And then of course it makes her look like the victim when she starts really exaggerating or completely making up the idea that you were taking advantage of her and that she always pays for lunch and you never do anything for her. So she's trying to look like the hero in front of whoever this other friend is and the victim. And that's really all this is about. Narcissists use people, and this is one way that a narcissist will use somebody. Kim is using you to make herself look like a hero and a victim. And narcissists have zero empathy or concern for how this affects anybody else. So Kim does not care that she might destroy your reputation to all of your other friends if it means that she can end up looking like a hero and a victim. So there is absolutely no thought put into how this affects you. So Kim didn't really do this necessarily to make you look bad. I think that's a really common misconception, that it makes sense that we assume that the narcissist is trying to make you look bad. It's more that the narcissist is willing to throw you under the bus and destroy your life in order to make themselves look good. I mean, the narcissist doesn't really think about you or your reputation or anything about you. The narcissist is completely focused on themselves. So this might feel like the narcissist is trying to destroy your life and trying to destroy you. And I mean, they are, but it's for themselves. It's to make themselves look like a hero and or like a victim. It isn't really about you. Now, Kim probably does this sort of thing all the time, but at this instance, something went wrong. You overheard her, okay? So now she's been exposed for telling lies and making things up in order to make herself look good, or look how she thinks is good. I mean, somebody that buys somebody else's lunch that doesn't appreciate them and is taking advantage of them somehow in Kim's mind is a wonderful human being. I don't know. But you messed this up because now you're onto her and you realize that Kim is a big fake, phony, lying, two-faced human being, okay? So Kim's a narcissist. She doesn't really have any integrity. She is emotionally a very weak, frightened person, and she's doing all of this to try to cover up pathological insecurities, okay? So now what is she supposed to do? You're calling her out on something pretty slimy that she did to make herself look good. She's not going to have the emotional maturity to be able to own this and to admit to it, but you've caught her red-handed. So she doesn't have a lot of choices. She's really caught between a rock and a hard place. A mature grown-up would say, you know what? I'm really sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I'll go explain to this friend that I was just having a bad day or whatever. You know, a mature grown-up would own it, but a mature grown-up wouldn't be telling that kind of lie in the first place. So all Kim can see as an option now is to just destroy you, okay? Because if she still has to see you as a reasonable, logical, rational, fair human being, what does that say about her? Now everybody's going to see her for what she is, and she can't stand for that. She's got to save face. Her reputation means everything, and nothing else means anything. So she will completely destroy your life if that's what she has to do to save her reputation and to avoid facing accountability and to avoid facing those pathological insecurities that started all this in the first place. And that's why Kim is on the warpath now. And that's why she is confusing the hell out of you. That's why she's being so vicious. She's trying to distract you from what actually happened here. And she's trying to convince you that you're the bad guy. You're the one that's done something wrong. You're the one that has betrayed her. She's perfectly flawless. She's the hero and the victim. Remember, that's what she's trying to create here. And she's not going to let you ruin that. So the reason that narcissists will fly off the rails, will fly into a rage-filled storm of chaos and hatred and fury for months or even years over something that they did to you is because you are seeing the lengths they're willing to go and the emotional energy that they're willing to put behind their attempts to save their own reputation and to create the image that they want to create, and to avoid accountability, to avoid the shame of facing the things that they've done. And that's really all this is about. There's no other alternative for them but to face a lifetime of lies and fraud. If they admit to you that they were lying and that they're just doing it to make themselves look good, then in their mind, they have to face an entire lifetime that they've spent of doing this same thing to countless people. And this is why there is no solution. This is why there's nothing you can do to make them happy or to fix this situation, because you've already exposed them. You've already figured out what they're doing, and there is no alternative for them but to destroy you and to make you look like the bad guy. That's all they've got left. Narcissists paint themselves into corners that they are too weak, frightened, cruel, and cold to find a healthy way out of. So they will just destroy you. It's the only way that they know how to get themselves out of these corners that they paint themselves into. So if something like this has happened to you, you can stop spending any time wondering things like, why didn't she tell me that she didn't want to pay for my lunch? I would have gladly paid for lunch, because that was never what any of this was about. She wanted to pay for your lunch because she wanted to be the hero. And that has nothing to do with why she's upset with you. Like I said, you didn't do anything wrong. And I know how confusing this can be. If you're in a situation like this, sit down and think to yourself, what did I do wrong? And ask yourself, what exactly, specifically, could I have done differently to avoid this? And I bet that you won't be able to come up with any answers that are at all reasonable. And if this is happening to you, another thing that will help you that is very, very difficult to do is you really have to accept that there are going to be people that believe the narcissist. There are going to be friends that accept what the narcissist is saying. And even if you try to explain yourself, even if you show these friends all of these nasty text and harassing voicemails and all these terrible things that Kim is doing to try to destroy you, there are going to be people that just don't care. There are going to be people that side with a narcissist, and honestly, good riddance. Consider this experience something that is showing you who your real friends are, is showing you who Kim actually is. It's giving you an opportunity to stop wasting time with people that have no allegiance to you whatsoever, people that don't care about you at all. And it hurts, and it's not fair, and it's really crappy, but at least you're having an opportunity to see what you actually are dealing with. And this is not something you can fix or change. Somebody that's willing to believe things about you that they don't know anything about and is willing to take the side of somebody who is trying to destroy you, that's somebody that has never cared about you. That's probably somebody who's extremely immature. That is not somebody that's worth your time. That's not somebody that's worth having in your life, in my opinion. I know I've been through this type of thing, and the people that cut me off or judged me unfairly, you know, it hurt. It was really hard to get through that. And I definitely had times where I just really, really wanted to explain myself and defend myself. But in hindsight, I can see none of that would have been worth any of my time. Somebody that is truly your friend already knows you. Somebody that is really, truly your friend will hear what Kim is saying and will think, that doesn't sound like, I think I named you Joe in the beginning. That doesn't sound like Joe at all. I've gone to lunch with Joe and she always pays for her own food. What is Kim talking about? That's what a real friend is going to think. And anybody that's going to cut you off based on what someone else is saying about you, it just isn't worth it. And like I say, good riddance. And how do you handle this? I mean, some narcissists can get really, really nasty. I mean, you might get to a point where you have to change your phone number or take out a restraining order. If there are legal pathways you can take to protect yourself, then definitely consider doing that. But I think for most of these types of situations, what is really going to take care of it is just going no contact, not engaging. Please stop trying to defend yourself. Please stop trying to explain why Kim paid for your lunch. Please stop trying to convince Kim that you didn't mean to hurt her. You didn't mean to do anything wrong. None of any of this has anything to do with you or anything that you did. The more that you try to defend yourself, the more credibility you give to Kim's story, the more power and control she feels like she has over your emotions, and the less likely she is to give up on this abuse campaign that she's on, or the smear campaign. If you are continuing to engage in this community and you are continuing to try to defend yourself and talk about what's going on, you are continuing to breathe life into this thing that Kim is using to make herself look like a victim or a hero. So the more that you try to defend yourself, the more life you're giving to this smear campaign. The best thing you can do, and I've been there, I know it might feel like you're letting somebody get away with something, but if you really want to protect yourself, the best thing you can do is to stop engaging, stop talking about it to anyone that still has contact with the narcissist. Basically, pretend it isn't happening unless you're talking to an extremely close, trusted family member or friend that you know is not going to go talk to Kim about it, that you know is not going to go talk to Kim about it for sure. I mean, if you had a rabid raccoon cornered in a garage and you tried to grab him and you just get scratched and bit, you wouldn't keep trying to grab at this rabid raccoon, right? You would change the game plan. You'd probably go somewhere else and call animal control, right? That's kind of what you're doing when you keep trying to reason with a narcissist that's out to destroy you, is you're basically trying to grab a rabid raccoon. Nothing good is ever going to come of that. And finally, I also want to say that I know that sometimes these relationships are relationships that you valued. This can be really, really hurtful to think that somebody that you thought you were close with, somebody that you thought you could trust, is willing to do this to you after you have done nothing to them. Except for maybe you've been a loyal friend. You've probably really been there for them. You've probably really done some things for this person, and this is how they repay you. I know this is really hard, potentially, depending on the relationship. And I know that there can also sometimes be this desire to keep trying to fix the relationship because of how much you value it and how hurtful this is and how much you maybe still care about this person and the relationship you had with them. To that, I just want to say, if you can't let go of this relationship, or you're not willing to let go of this relationship, really sit with yourself and ask yourself why. Ask yourself what it is that you are getting out of this relationship that you cannot let go of, and really try to get to the bottom of that. Because I promise you that a human being that would do this to you, a human being that is supposed to be your friend, supposed to care about you, that would try to destroy your life in order to protect their own reputation, doesn't care about you at all. And they're not only not worth being a friend, but this is a potentially dangerous relationship, dangerous situation. This is somebody that is not going to bring anything good into your life and doesn't even care to try. So I hope that this video could help you see more clearly this confusing cloud of chaos, where it comes from, why it's happening, and most importantly, how it is not your fault and it is not something that you can fix. You do not need to take responsibility for anybody else's emotional problems, and you do not need to apologize to somebody that has hurt you. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.